Now, listen up. 3, 2, 1. It's showtime. That's great.
This is ridiculous.
99.3 The Truth.
You can't handle the truth right now.
Ooh.
That was the stupidest thing I ever heard.
Let's do it.
Hit it. It's time for Mac's World.
And here we go.
Everybody, let's get it started. Let's get it started.
Call Mac 244-0077 or text 809-0993.
It's showtime, everybody! Showtime!
Exclusively on 99.3 The Truth.
7 minutes after 4 o'clock on the 21st day of July in the Lord's third millennium. 2016. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for joining us back today. Just a couple news stories just to touch on for a minute. Brazilian authorities have arrested 10 people who are loyal to the Islamic State who were planning attacks during the Summer Olympics. Investigators say those arrested were discussing targets in Rio, which leads them to believe they were planning attacks during the Olympics. A justice minister said the group was a part of a novice cell and that they went from simply making comments about Islamic State and terrorism to starting to prepare for attack. The arrests were in 9 different states and are accused of having made contact online with self-proclaimed Islamic State. The suspects are Brazilians. All right, I just wanted you to know that, okay? It's I don't know. If they can stop, if they can prevent, here, let me just put it this way. If there are no kind of attacks during the Olympics at all, that would be outstanding for the Brazilians to be able to say that they've done that. If you remember, the last time we had attacks like this was 68-72, Tel Aviv.
You're talking about when they kidnapped the Israeli team? Yeah.
72?
70-something, yeah. I mean,
Well, you weren't even born, were you?
I was born in 70.
Okay. The other thing I want to tell you is that Tom Vilsack is being considered as a possible running mate with Hillary Clinton. You can call in and answer this if you want to, but I just want you to think about the question. Does that change your mind about Hillary? Is that going to be for Iowans or other agricultural states the tipping point for who to pick, Hillary or Donald Trump? And why do we even care? All right, so here's what I want to do. I'm in a Bible study. I'm in 5 Bible studies a week, and I love every one. In fact, I was just invited to another one that I may start going to. In one of them, we are in 1 Corinthians 11, and we're talking about the Lord's Supper. And so I have some questions for you, Pastor Michael Demastus from the Fort Des Moines Church of Christ on Fleur Drive, or on Army Post.
That's on my bingo sheet.
But with Frank gone, I want to hear a little more conversation about this thing with Cruz.
Sure.
Because what I understand was that Cruz promised to support the nominee.
Sure.
And then Trump just treated him like a pimp. Called his wife ugly, called him Lion Ted, just things that, I mean, there's so many things being
Accused
said.
his father of being involved in the JFK assassination.
Yeah. I mean, just really horrible things. And that's just Donald Trump's way, and we'll have to figure out whether that's a presidential way or not. But you were huge Ted Cruz.
I was on the state leadership team, and, I was not paid by the campaign in any way, but I was firmly behind him, yes.
All right. So where are you at on this whole debate that Ted Cruz snuffed, or not snuffed, ignored his obligation to and his promise to support the nominee?
For me, to be blunt, and if I can give full disclosure on this, I really think that what Ted Cruz did was somewhat self-serving. I think that, Ted Cruz, I can't see this it's hard for me to see any politician, no matter who they are, strictly through the lens of, boy, they are purely, doing this out of the, motivation of I want to stand on what's right. And I'm sorry, but I've been around too many of them. And I feel like maybe Ted Cruz was wanting to set things up for a 2020 deal. And, he's the hero that speaks, no matter who's listening, going to speak, conviction and strong truth and just what's he got to lose at this go around. I mean, this will be forgotten. Everybody, there's been several news stories about, his career's over. And I don't think that's true. I think that what he did was very calculative. Having said that, did he break his oath? I don't know. Are we holding Donald Trump to the same standard? Are we doing the same thing with Donald Trump?
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't accept that.
I'm just saying. I get it, but what I'm saying is the people that are decrying this are, they're not holding their own candidate to the same thing, and it's just, I guess at the end of the day, I don't know. It's hard for me to say I would do something similar. I heard Greg Hartzell, a representative in our state that I respect a ton, had commented about, he thinks Ted Cruz should have just not even come.
I agree.
And he said that, if he couldn't endorse him, that's fine. Just don't come. He said, you don't go to the wedding party and insult the bride.
I'm not watching this stuff because I just have too much stuff going on. And quite frankly, I don't care. Didn't Marco do something on tape?
I don't know.
Last night?
Yes, he did.
Okay, did he say, I support Donald Trump?
I think he did. Did you see it?
I'm not sure. I didn't see it.
Yeah, I
apologize.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Frank will probably know.
I think he did.
I was Pokemon hunting with my wife and Basset Hound last night.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
I have not picked up that habit, but I am sorely tempted. What a fun way to spend time with your family, run around, hunting these things down.
It's like crack.
Well, and
I can see how it's really addicting. I like geocaching.
Yeah,
but
and it's a lot like that in a sense because I do too.
Yeah,
we geocache, but this is a different thing, But it's a lot of fun, anyways. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
Pokemon Go. There you go.
He did endorse Trump, by the way.
he did. Okay. All right. Do you know, Chris, that you could buy, and I don't know how this is done, but you could buy what on Pokemon Go? Buy a thing here at the station that would make people come here.
Oh, you can buy
You
can buy a rare Pokemon. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
So businesses are doing this. So businesses somehow are able to.
How incredibly brilliant.
No, it's genius. It's absolutely genius.
Yeah.
And there's the news story that I saw about it is these businesses are benefiting from it.
Oh, no
especially
doubt.
places like a coffee shop or something like a small purchase.
Well, listen to this. Our church is a Pokestop. And so I didn't know about Pokemon Go until, my son was doing it. And then we had all these people showing up at weird hours on our security cameras at church. And I'm like, what in the world? And I went even one night because there was this car parked out in there. And I'm like, what are they doing? And I kind of went and just asked them, and they're like, oh, we're sorry, we're playing the game. And so then I kind of found out about it. And I found out our church is a Pokestop. Most churches are.
Yeah.
They're a Pokestop where you can kind of get stuff for the game.
A Pokestop.
Pokestop. And so listen to this. I
got to get that out of my head. There's something about a Pokestop that I just don't think I should say in this company.
Don't go there. But I've gotten cases of water.
Yeah.
And people have been showing up during the day. I'll go out, and if I see them, I just go out and hand them water and thank them for stopping by hunting Pokemon at the church. And I've heard of businesses that are doing, because you have to choose at a certain level. You have to choose which team you're going to be on, red, yellow, or blue, which is Team Valor, Mystic, or Instinct. And so you once you do that, I've heard of like coffee shops like, hey, 10% off of Team Red, this week only or whatever, stuff like that, just to draw in people,
Sure.
And it's smart. It's taking advantage of the opportunity that's being presented because this fad might only be, couple months long, but
right, yeah.
who knows?
How long does it last? It is weird. And do you believe the reason that churches are these Pokestops is because they're safe. There's not people generally there a whole lot. It's not.
Maybe this game actually was built upon another game that was out there. I've been told all this. There was another game that already had like all of the stuff laid over with Google Maps, and so they kind of all of these places that are stops and gyms and stuff like that. They had already been kind of designated in this other game in those manners, and so they just built upon that same architecture for this game that was already in existence.
So it had so Pokemon Go didn't care. They just wanted to. I mean, they weren't targeting churches in any way.
No, and it's just interesting though. I mean, like I said, most churches are a Pokestop, or they're a Pokestop or a gym, or a Pokestop, or a gym only, or whatever. And so most churches, you get something when you go, and that's kind of cool, in a sense. If you want, to have traffic into your facility,
Our friends, Nate Beard, who works at First Church of the Open Bible headquarters there on Fleur, they had he put a cooler of water on their property because they're a big Pokestop right there on the hill.
Right.
And then with the weather being so hot this week, he took that bottled water in his cooler and put it down by the bus stop. There's a bus stop on the corner.
Nice.
And someone came and stole the
Jiminy Cricket.
stole the cooler. So he got on WHO television about it. But yeah, what a sad thing. But that's a really nice thing to do.
Sure.
People are out having a good time. Give them free water. But anyway,
yeah.
I digress.
Your favorite store, the game store?
Yes.
Or the game shop?
Games and More, both located in Valley West Mall and here at the Merle Hay Mall.
Okay. They have purchased whatever that is, and they have become a place that people can come and...
Of course. And it's smart. I mean, honestly, it's like I said, it's taking advantage of an opportunity that's presented itself right now. And if I'm not a businessman, I'm not an entrepreneur, but I am a pastor, and having foot traffic to my facility is a good thing. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I've heard that from several pastors.
So
a lot of pastors are doing the water and the break and do all that kind of stuff. So.
Now, I've also heard pastors that start railing on the, Pokemon's evil and there's satanic symbols and I don't know, whatever. So,
well, do you just ignore that, or do you think they're wrong?
It's a game, man. It's just a silly little game. And
but isn't that what
fun.
a Ouija board is?
No. That's different. So.
All right, let's talk about the difference between a Ouija board and Pokemon Go, because I got a Pokemon to go. And I promise we're going to get to communion. But right. I've got the pastor here, and I got to talk to him, right? You want to hear, right? Yeah, okay. We're next.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza, and it's got Graziano sausage.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for the opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rock and Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
"21 after 4 o'clock, 4:21. I want to tell you, Weiss and Merkel, you hear me talk about them all the time. They're now offering you a free service. Okay, you got a 401k that you rolled over from another business. Do you know that, what was the number, 78%? 78% of 401ks are not checked in the first 2 years when they get rolled over to a new company. And fees change, charges change, things change. But yet we have this, we are lulled to believe that all just roll it over and everything's the same, but it's not. And so Weiss and Merkel will absolutely check out your 401k for free. I promise. No hidden costs, no hidden fees. They're not trying to sell you anything. They're trying to show you, well, they're trying to show you that they care about you and they care about your retirement. Now, we got a great text the other day from somebody who went to Tuesday's retirement, Passport to Retirement, their little seminar.
Right. And it says, I went to a Weiss Merkel event on retirement, very informative and helpful. Lauren and James were informative, helpful, and not at all boring. I appreciate the info that I received, some in my head, some in my notes, and the hefty notebook. I will study the notebook. While I did thank them, please feel free to pass on my thanks again. Thank you, Mac, for having them on your program.
You're very welcome. And that's the thing I want to hear. I want to hear somebody that is teachable enough to sit down with somebody who isn't their financial planner and just see how it's going. And hopefully you'll never get any bad news. But, seriously, if it's being offered free by somebody who supports this radio station, and I'm telling you that I work with them and they're good guys, can't you just trust and just have them take that 401k? Give them a call, Weiss Merkel Financial, 278-4110. All right. While we were in break, Jeb, what did you find in here, Jeb?
It was a Pidgey.
That mic's a little loud.
Pidgey.
A Pidgey. Okay, what's a Pidgey, Pastor?
It's one of the Pokemon in the game.
So, Pastor, the Pidgey's a Pokemon.
Yep.
Okay.
And when you say Pokemon, I've been taught this. Think of the phrase pocket monster.
Right.
That's kind of the breakdown of that. Pokemon, pocket monster. So you collect these little creatures, these little monsters, and whatever. So
and a Pidgey is super cute, by the way. If you've never seen one,
are you going to do this now?
I don't know, man.
Aren't you?
I'm really scared that I might.
What? It's a game. It's just a game. It's just another thing to use your phone for. Why not? Have fun. It's free. Isn't it free?
It's free. It's free, but eventually you'll probably spend.
You can
some coin
spend
on
money,
it.
and I'll say this: I'm bringing up on my phone right now an app that tracks my walking, and my goal is daily to get over 10,000 steps. And over the past 7 days, only one day was I under 10,000 steps. And so it has helped. In that sense,
That's
that
funny.
it's got me out walking and moving around. And
I've heard people say that it's something to do with your family, and I think for an outing to do with your family, you walk a dog or whatever it might be. It's neat.
Well, if you've been down to the sculpture park here in Des Moines at any night. I mean, we were out last night. It was really hot and muggy downtown. There was probably 300 people in the sculpture park, and we were there about 8:30 last night.
Wow.
So it's still light out, but even after dark, I've been there before after dark, and it's just hundreds of people down there. And the other day there was one of those food trucks down there, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. And I told the guy, I'm like, you are a genius. And he's like, thank you.
I have an article here. I saw a Christian post. It says, once condemned as evil, Pokemon Go now sending lots of people to church.
Yes, right. Well, I saw another one that, when Pokemon started as a TV program and a trading card game, they used to tell us in the 90s to get out of the house and go do stuff. Stop playing Pokemon, get out of the house and go do stuff. Now they're telling us to stop leaving the house and go back inside. So anyway.
Well, I want to, if I can, Mac, I want to just tackle something real quick, just to share with you something that's on my heart. And because I was rough on Frank, but he needs that. He needs a good kick in the butt every once in a while. But I really genuinely want to say this, and because if anybody else is in the same place that I'm at, I need you to hear my heart. I have recognized, because of the Republican Party, because of everything that we're going through, I'm becoming bitter. And I hate that. I hate that I am making that choice right now in my life, because it's not where God wants me to be. And so I have, intentionally been trying to pull back from the political theater that we have currently. And so I'm just saying, if anybody else is out there and you're kind of in the same spot and you're getting angry and you're getting so frustrated and you're getting mad at your own party or whatever, God doesn't want bitter. I've said this from the pulpit 1,000 times. Bitterness never leads to betterness. And so, we sometimes just need to pull back from that. And one of the reasons we get bitter is because we're turning something into an idol that doesn't need to be an idol. And we don't like it when people start touching our idols. And so I'm kind of trying to reprioritize some of that stuff in my life.
Okay, so I think you and I are on the same page. Understand, 4 years ago, the convention, both of them, would have been must-watch TV for Mac. I mean, clear the room. This doesn't happen very often, not even on every Nebraska game. But it happens on the Daytona 500. It happens on the Indy 500. And it happens on a Charlie Brown Christmas. No, I'm serious. I mean, those are the three things that every year when it's on, I watch those.
Sure.
The convention would have been the same thing. I mean, I would have planned dinners, meals, times. I might not have gone to a Bible study the next morning. I certainly wouldn't have made late meetings. This cycle, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because you guys have all taught me that God's in charge.
Right.
And that he's going to do what he's going to do, and I just need to sit back and worship him no matter what he does. So this is all just crazy to me. And maybe it's always been crazy, and I'm just taking the scales off my eyes.
Right.
Because I was getting where you were. Last January, when we did the caucuses, wasn't I? I was about ready to pull my hair out. I was so sick and tired of talking politics. And now I'm past sick and tired. I mean, I know my listeners want to hear a Christian perspective. So you're here, and Chris is here, and Bob's here, and Frank's here, and Jebediah. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I'm just at this point, I'm just managing traffic, voice traffic.
Right.
So I think I completely agree with you, but I'm just past. I don't care. I'm just past bitterness.
I can't say that I don't care. I do care, but for my own sanity and my own heart, sometimes you got to Sabbath from stuff. And I know right now is a season in my life that I need to kind of pull back and reorient myself a little bit, because I don't want to be a bitter person. I don't want to be an angry, bitter conservative man, and whatever. I hope and I pray, and I do. I genuinely do. I pray for Donald Trump and Melania. I pray for Bill and Hillary. I pray that whoever's chosen as our leader, that God will be glorified no matter what. America, I believe, is at a stage right now where we are in for some rough times as followers of Jesus, and we're in for some rough times in the church. And I think that is going to be regardless of who is in the Oval Office. And I think that Christians need to buck up. They need to get real about their faith and be serious about following Jesus. And that's kind of where I'm at.
And I think that's what's happened to me. I mean, he's the main guru. guru now for me. It isn't the radio program. It's not my kids. You know, I think I finally put Jesus. I have finally put Jesus as the most important thing in my life. And that gives me great peace. Great peace. And I'll be honest with you. I want to go home. I always said that before, but I had no idea that I wouldn't have gone. I mean, I would have gone someplace, but it wasn't there. I'm just tired of this. I can't stand to see my 16-year-old grandson, Luke, who wants to be a pastor, who goes on mission trips every summer, who when we ride around in the car, we don't talk about Pokemon Go or Nintendo or the coolest chicks or the hottest cars. We talk about the Bible. And he challenges me. I don't know if I want him to be a pastor. I don't know if I want to go to his funeral because he's the latest Christian pastor that has been slaughtered by ISIS or whoever it is. Because we've got an administration that is so worthless. Well, actually, they're worth a lot to the Islamic people, but not much to the Christians.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't mean to put a wet blanket on that. But
no, I understand.
All right, so what's the difference? I'm not a game player. I don't think I've ever... I probably have touched a game controller a couple times only because my grandson played it a long time ago. So I'm not into games. I don't play Angry Birds. I don't play Candy. I don't do any of that.
Sure.
But why is Pokemon Go not evil, or whatever word you want to use, and the Ouija board is?
The Ouija board is something that is genuinely constructed for the purpose of speaking to the dead. That's the whole point of that.
Of the Ouija board?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're looking for a spirit to communicate with you.
Okay.
The scriptures cannot be any more strong in their warning about doing such activity. Now, having a little cartoon drawing of a character that you're capturing in a make-believe ball, and then, you know, you're getting points for capturing these little characters. I don't know. I guess, you know, it's like, that's not something, I guess that's one of those things where for me, it's not the Ouija board is in a different genre and category. That's not a little game.
How about horoscopes? I used to read horoscopes, and then I was kind of told by some good Christian men that that's probably not something I should do every morning.
I would agree with that.
And tell me why.
Well, it's, you know, where does our guidance and direction come from? Does it come from stars?
No, it comes from Jesus.
Right. So why would I say, Jesus, be my guide, let me check what the stars are saying too? You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense. It's controverting what I'm testifying as my own commitment. And so a lot of people look at it as harmless. A lot of people see it as silly and fun. Not to be sexist or chauvinist, but I think a lot of females do that, and maybe even look to it for some affirmation on relationships and stuff like that. I believe that is opening up doors that you don't want opened up into spiritual arenas that you don't want to go into. That's what I believe.
Okay, yeah, because this season. Well, anyway, spiritual warfare is real.
Yeah, it is.
Found out the hard way. All right, I promise. Can we stop talking about Pokemon and Trumps and Trants and politicians, and can we do that?
Absolutely.
You okay with that, Robert?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so when we come back, I want to talk about 1 Corinthians 11, starting with 17, because we studied this in a Bible study. And
fantastic.
I had no idea that there were so many different ways and interpretations of communion and who can and can't take it. And didn't Jesus say this was for everybody?
No.
No?
No.
Okay. We're going to get a lesson from the pastor Michael Demastus from the Fort Des Moines Church of Christ, right there on Army Post Road in Des Moines. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Thanks for listening. We're coming back live on The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs,
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
All right, 4:38, 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Hank, the Bible Answer Man. 1-888 Ask Hank. If you got a question, maybe on communion. All right, so I want you to go to your Bibles, please. And we're in 1 Corinthians, or as Donald would say, 1 Corinthians. And
You said we weren't going there.
We're in chapter 11. That's humor, not politics.
That'll be fun. If he's the president, we can say, or as the president would say.
And I'm in chapter 11, and this is instructions for public worship. Then when we get over to verse 17, we have order at the Lord's Supper. And I just want to read a little bit here, if I can. But in the following instructions, I cannot praise you, for it sounds as if you harm, for it sounds as if more harm than good is done when you meet together. First, I hear that there are divisions among you when you meet at the church. To some extent, I believe, in fact. But of course, there must be divisions among you so that you who have God's approval will be recognized. When you meet together, you are not really interested in the Lord's Supper. For some of you hurry to eat your own meal without sharing with others. As a result, some go hungry while others get drunk. What? Don't you have your own homes for eating and drinking? Or do you really want to disgrace God's church and shame the poor? What am I supposed to say? Do you want me to praise you? Well, I certainly will not praise you for this. For I pass on to you what I have received from the Lord himself. You want me to stop there?
No.
Oh, okay. For I pass on to you what I received from the Lord himself. On the night in which he was betrayed, the Lord Jesus took some bread and gave thanks to God for it. Then he broke it in pieces and said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, he took the cup of wine after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant between God and his people, an agreement confirmed with my blood. Do this to remember me as often as you drink it. For every time you eat this bread and drink this cup, you are announcing the Lord's death until he comes again."
And then verse 27 is the clincher. "Whoever therefore eats the bread and drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of profaning the body and blood of the Lord. Let a person examine himself then, and so eat the bread and drink the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without discerning the body eats and drinks judgment on himself." Goes on to say, "That is why many of you are weak and ill, some have died." So it's right after where you stopped is where the inflammatory language is that creates some strife for some people.
So what questions do you have about communion?
Well, so we're in a Bible study, and there's a pastor there, and there's several different denominations represented there. We do this at a church, but it's kind of a non-denominational Bible study. And I guess I always thought, I've never thought any different, that anybody at any time who thinks they love Jesus can go up and receive communion because you're sharing the death and the resurrection with him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that not correct according to your theology?
Well, this is what I would say. A couple of things on that. Number one is that you got to keep in mind who was being written to when you look at passages like this. Who was Jesus speaking to on the night that he was betrayed? He was speaking to his own disciples and his followers. Not that doesn't mean that we can, you can garner universal application. I mean, I do believe that there is a universality in this, but I believe it's really for the church. It's for believers. And now some churches practice what's called closed communion. So you have to actually be a member in that church to be able to participate in communion. Some churches, like our church, we practice open communion, and that means that you don't have to be a believer in that church. We would say you just need to be a believer in Jesus Christ if you want to partake. We have, when we pass it, we don't pass, judgment. One of the things we do, by the way, is we do it every single Sunday. We've been criticized for that. I hear people say, well, when you do it every Sunday, it just becomes a rote ritual. I say, wow, do you take offering every Sunday? But anyways, we don't go down that road. Pastors don't like to get into that theological discussion.
You don't want to touch the offering plate.
Exactly. Yeah, just the body and blood of Jesus, that's nothing. The offering, no, we can't mess with that.
That's a weekly thing. Yeah. You don't want to miss out on that.
But you know what? The reason why we do it every Sunday is kind of laid out. First, you just read, Jesus said, do this as much as you can, as often as you meet together. The early church actually met every single day. The early church, you look in Acts 2:42, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, which is another reference to communion, and to prayer. And so those four things is what the early church were devoted to. They would meet daily, having communion every single day. Then we look a little later in the book of Acts, and the Christians became known as meeting on the first day of the week, which is Sunday. And so that's kind of why we practice at least in our fellowship, we practice communion every week. I don't know that necessarily you can say this is a thus saith the Lord kind of thing. You have to do it every Sunday or whatever. But I do believe that the principle of doing it as often as you possibly can. Some churches do it once a quarter, which I think, man, I don't know. For me, I'll go to another church that maybe isn't out of the Church of Christ, and I'll worship with them. And if they don't have communion, I always leave kind of feeling like I missed out on something, and it's like going, expecting a sermon and not getting it. And so I think it's really important to do it as often as you possibly can.
Pastor Michael, one of the criticisms of folks who are closed communion, meaning that they only give communion to their members, and I think, Mac, you're kind of alluding to this, and if you're in the Bible study that I think you're in, you've got a pretty strong closed communion advocate.
Yeah, it's Luke's church.
Okay, and
it's Missouri Synod.
They're Missouri Synod Lutheran.
Yep.
So Missouri
they would
Synod
be
Lutheran,
closed communion.
They're close communion. And Luke Tim doesn't listen to the show unless he's on, so I know he's not listening. In fact, he doesn't even listen when he's on. He's too busy talking. Oh my goodness, did I say that? I did. But Missouri Synod Lutheran churches and other churches that practice close communion do it for the benefit of their members.
Sure.
Because what they're saying is they take a lot of credence in, or they put a lot of weight behind 1 Corinthians 11, verses 27 and following. It says, whoever therefore eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty of profaning the body and blood. And so what they want to do is they want to make sure that these are churches that have church discipline. To be a member, you have to be a member in good standing. And that's not a salvation thing. That's simply for church discipline, for correction, for building up, for growing in the faith. And so if you're not a member of that church, they don't know you. They don't know where your heart is.
Right.
And they don't want you participating in the Lord's Supper for the sake of drinking or eating condemnation on yourself.
Right. And that's cool. It does sometimes become a little bit of a condescension thing too spiritually. You see that. I've seen that at least in some settings. And I'm not saying that that's the case, especially with this Luke guy. I don't know him at all. But I do. This is what I think. I think that, for us, you got to keep in mind who is 1 Corinthians 11 written to. They were having like massive issues, and this was just one of them that Paul was addressing. The church was a mess. I'm part of what's called the Restoration Movement. We want to restore the church to what it was like in the New Testament. We've done a great job because we're just as screwed up as they were. But I think honestly that what you see in 1 Corinthians 11, Paul is addressing a specific issue in that church, but there's universal principles that you want, and some of these that he's saying, you need to examine your heart. You need to make sure you're not drinking, judgment upon yourself. And so that's something that you look at. How can a person that is not a believer in Jesus Christ actually drink judgment upon themselves? They're already judged. They're already in judgment. They're already headed to hell, literally. And so for us, I don't go around, are you an immersed believer in Jesus Christ? Are you whatever? I don't go around like asking everybody that. I will say this, and I have said this from the pulpit before, that, we need to make sure we really focus on examining, our hearts and our minds, why we're doing what we're doing, remembering the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, looking at the sin that we have in our hearts. It's a time to literally reorient and commune literally with Jesus.
All right, Bethany from Urbandale, I got you on the phone. Give me 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and I'll have you live on the radio. Thank you for calling. Hold on. Pastor Michael Demastus from the Fort Des Moines Church of Christ on the radio with you and me. Thanks for listening.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes for the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Hank, the Bible Answer Man, 1-888-ASK Hank. Let's go to the phones real quick here, where Bethany from Urbandale is standing by. Bethany, what's your thoughts on communion?
Well, I actually have more of just a small comment / question and then just a question. I basically just wondered, why Judas did communion when he knew what he was going to do to Jesus. I mean, he knew he was going to betray him, and yet he still partook in communion with Jesus. And I just kind of wonder why he would do something like that, because obviously he was not in the right place in his heart.
Right. I don't know that per se you could say he was partaking in communion. It was kind of literally being instituted that night. They were actually eating the Passover meal is what they were doing. And so, it would have been weird, honestly, if he would have said, I can't eat, man, I'm going to betray you and I can't eat. So I think that, to keep that in mind is that the idea of remembering the broken body and the shed blood of Jesus instituted that very night with his disciples. And so they wouldn't have recognized, oh, we're doing communion now. It wouldn't have been that way. They would have kind of looked back, especially after the resurrection, and go, that's what he was talking about. And they would have really clicked on for them,
Okay. My other question was just something that I see nowadays. And it sometimes becomes a debate among other churches and their denominations, depending on what they believe. But how come some people use, regular grape juice? They make sure it's pure grape juice, and others use regular wine. There was one time that I went to a Catholic wedding, and they were partaking in communion, and they were going to use real wine. Well, I was raised on using the grape juice, and so I decided not to partake in that because I did not feel right about drinking wine.
Right.
And so I don't really understand why we don't, why there's just not one choice of beverage here.
Right. And in the scriptures, the original language, when it talks about the drink that they had, it was literally, it talks about the blood of the grape. And it was technically grape juice. It was wine. And so I think if it was beer and pizza, we could probably have a pretty strong debate. But wine to grape juice for me, it depends on, what amount you're going to be taking in. But I don't really honestly have a theological issue with that. It's still the blood of the grape. Either one of those are. And so that's kind of where I'm at with that. Now, the bread, some churches, have different kinds of bread, and some churches don't really have a big problem with it. But for me, I do have a little bit of a theological issue with when it relates to the bread that's used, because the bread specifically is unleavened bread. And some people will use just a big old loaf of, bread that you kind of rip off a piece of it, and that would be leavened bread. And so I kind of feel like that's kind of varying a little bit from the scriptural premise.
I agree.
So.
But that was basically all I wanted to ask, was just see your guys' thoughts on that, because me at my age, I'm going to be 25 soon. I still kind of battle that a little bit, because you got some people that are okay with the idea of drinking wine, and then you have me. I was raised that drinking alcohol is bad and you shouldn't do it, and now it's kind of changed from to an excess.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Keep in mind that Paul told Timothy even, drink a little wine for your stomach. I mean, he was sick, and you can make arguments about the way that wine is produced today. I think most alcoholic beverages are produced with the intent of altering your mental faculties, but back in that day, it was just a variant of water. They had wine or water, and sometimes the water was bad. And so it was, a lot of times just wine with your meals, too.
Well, now, Bethany, thank you so much for your call, Mac. Did you want to say anything?
Yeah, Bethany, thanks for calling. I appreciate it. You're welcome here anytime, okay?
Ms. Mac, it's Stephanie.
Oh, hi, Stephanie. I thought Jebediah said Bethany.
Sorry, we had it on wrong on our screen.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm sorry about that, Stephanie.
That's
no,
all right.
No worries, guys. No worries. I listen to you guys, and I enjoy it.
Stephanie is one of the best people you're ever going to meet. An amazing mom. Talk about that single mom that will not let anything bad happen to her kids. I would not want to mess with this tiger right here. Steph, thanks for calling. I'll see you at church.
Yes, I'll see you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, so
just as a point, what I was going to say, technology had to advance for us to have the kind of grape juice that we consume now.
Mm-hmm.
The technology of being able to store grape juice and keeping it from fermenting, that's a modern technological advancement. Before, it would have just been, as you said, it would have been just grape juice that over time would have fermented. So that's just a kind of a side note.
The levels of fermentation determined, for them, how good it was. If it's really old fermented, it would have been probably pretty nasty. But a fresh fermentation, a little bit of tartness to it and all that they would have liked that. And you even have the story of Jesus turning the water into wine at Cana, and the best wine, that stuff would have been kind of a freshly fermented juice, and it still has alcoholic capability, alcohol in it, and you could drink that and probably get a little buzz if you drank a lot of it, but that's not the intent of it.
Right.
The intent
and
was
like
the taste.
Right. And like you said, now they manufacture alcohol for the increased alcohol amounts, like on purpose. So it's different now than it was then too. Anyway.
Okay. So give me talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Can anybody take communion at your church?
We want people that are believers in Jesus Christ to take communion.
And you tell them that, but you don't pat them down.
No. There's no. You got to pass
open communion.
Pass an exam. We would definitely be considered open communion at our church, and we have communion every single Sunday. And
good.
we believe that there's a danger in everything becoming a rote ritual. Frankly, that we do in the church, singing songs, preaching sermons, offering, all of it.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I have a question.
I mean, I was an Episcopalian for 40 some years. I lived ritual with no relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll take a little ritual, a little ritual worship, as long as it's the right kind.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, go ahead.
Question is, Mac, this is for you. If there was a church that served wine for communion, would you take it as an alcoholic?
Yeah, no.
So it would eliminate you or any.
No, I would still take the bread. And then I would go out and this is what I would do. I would take the bread and I'd put it in my hand. I would go out to the drinking fountain because I serve communion, and I would say, Mac, the blood of Jesus Christ shed for you. And I'd take a drink from the drinking fountain. And then I'd say, Mac, the body of Jesus Christ broken for you. And I'd eat the cracker. Because I don't care whether it's lemonade, grapeade, Mogan David, gin and tonic. It's the body of Jesus Christ and the blood of Jesus Christ. And I don't think Jesus is up in heaven going, oh, you can't drink out of the drinking fountain. That's blasphemous. No, in fact, I think he'd probably appreciate the fact that I honor the fact that I am an alcoholic and I haven't had a drink in over 6 years, and I'm not going to start there. Because then somebody in AA says, so have you had a drink? Well, yeah, but it was communion wine. No. Yeah, it was just a martini. No. Remember, 1 drink's too many, and 12 is not enough. Thanks for being here.
Yep.
Appreciate it. See everybody tomorrow. Like I always tell you, you got something in your heart, man. You got it. You won't even say it out loud. It's a blind spot. You haven't forgiven somebody. Do it before something happens. Because remember, as you forgive, you will be forgiven. See you in church.